It's week 5, and the Vols are heading back to Knoxville with a win.
Yeah, and Jackson Arnold got benched sooner than I expected.
The Vols start 1-0 in conference play and hand the Sooners their first SEC L.
Yeah, and the performance wasn't perfect, but got the job done anyways, and all that matters is coming out with a win.
Yeah. So every week, Jason and I predict the final score of the upcoming matchup. So for the Oklahoma game, I predicted 45-24, and Jace predicted 52-32.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the final score was 25-15. My PCS points came out to 158 to Jace's 223.
Mm-hmm. Those are both pretty bad. The lower your score, the more accurate your prediction. And getting around like a 75 is what we consider an A, which is obviously pretty good. So with my score of 223, I got a D+, and Shea got a B- with 158 PCS points.
Yeah, so through 4 weeks, because we do this for every single game, I'm sitting at 667 points to Jace's 609.
You know, I decided to go easy on you this week because I was doing you in, as they say.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, we're a little bit closer now.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, bro.
Of course, anytime.
All right, let's take a look into the stats from the game last night. So in the first quarter, both teams started off pretty slow. And by slow, I mean the first 4 drives ended in punts.
Yeah. It was, wasn't that great to watch as a Tennessee fan, just that slow of a game. We watched some of the Auburn-Arkansas game. That game was terrible.
Yeah.
Just picks, punts, everything. This game was better than that one, but it kind of gave off that vibe at the beginning.
The Vols started off early with penalties, too. For example, we had Oklahoma at a 3rd and 11, and then we get a false start, 3rd and 5, and they get the first down.
That was kind of a theme for the game. A lot of punts, a lot of penalties. Definitely was not too happy about that aspect of the game as a Tennessee fan because that happened throughout the game. But something had to break, and finally we got that momentum shifter. When we were talking about this game last week, I thought it was super important for us to have a big play at the beginning of the game, which we did actually. That first play of the game was a tackle for loss, and really, put our foot on their necks early. And, I guess midway through that first quarter, Arnold finally screwed up, and he threw that horrible, horrible pass. I don't remember who the receiver was, but corner route, and Jermon McCoy was just right there. I mean, he threw it right to his chest. That really took the momentum out of their crowd because that was, it showed to be a difficult place to play. It was loud in there. And finally, it gave us the momentum. It set Brew up for that big catch. We did settle for a field goal, but I think as a coach, you have to take all the points you can get off of turnovers and, just any type of short fields. You got to take all the points you can get.
Yeah, that was a sign for things to come, right. Seeing Heupel take the field goal. And later on in the first half, we see Nico fumble. Okay, blindside tackle, stripped him. Fair enough. That could happen to anybody. The very next play, Arnold tries to rush, and he's getting swallowed up and just fumbles in a big ball of chaos, drops the ball.
He looked terrible this game. And I mean, we'll get into it later. He didn't play the whole game, but he looked terrible. He was not doing anything to help his team. This actually happened again in the game where Nico fumbles, and then subsequently they fumble right back to us. I think it was Arnold again that fumbled. The first half and really all of this game had a very chaotic nature to it. Very defensive-heavy game. But yeah, Arnold was not looking good this game.
But when you looked at Heupel, whenever the camera would pan over to him, he was calm and collected, and he made me feel like he knew he was going to win the game.
Yeah, I feel the same about Nico. He had those 2 fumbles, but you never really look at Nico and see, him being rattled or him dwelling on his mistakes. Whereas Arnold, there was like 3 times in that game he was on the bench and they were like, panning at him after the mistakes, the camera was, and he would just stare at the camera. It was like you could tell he was nervous, he was scared. And Arnold and Nico are the same age. They were in the same recruiting class.
Right.
And you could tell, I feel like one quarterback belonged there and one didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they both came to Tennessee, it was obvious that Nico would have got the starting job. So, and when Arnold was looking at the camera, it was so sudden.
It was like a jump scare.
It was a jump scare. It was like we were literally talking about him live during the game, and he heard us.
We were like
right
trying to analyze the game, and then all of a sudden he just like stared into our soul. But
yeah. So after that first fumble by Nico, which turned into whenever Oklahoma got the ball, we forced another fumble and got it right back. We ended up punting anyway. And this is when Jackson Ross comes into the picture. So he's our punter. If you didn't know, he had a beautiful punt. Rolled all the way to the 4. OU starts off, immediate false start.
Mm-hmm.
Sets him back to the 2, and boom, safety by our defense.
And I still blame this on Arnold. You're down in your own depths. I mean, you're at home, so you really need to take control of the game at this point. And false start. That's not helping them at all. And as you said, the safety. But hey, I mean, we're not having Jackson Ross on our team just to give the ball back to the other team.
Right.
We're paying him, NIL, whatever, to make plays like this.
Yeah.
He's a really good punter from Australia. And yeah, pinning him on the 4. That and the pick felt like the 2 like swings of the game for me.
Yeah, and I heard the announcers talk about this too. They said that Oklahoma running back that got tackled in their own end zone, they said Dylan Sampson, if that was Dylan Sampson, it wouldn't have been the same result.
Mm-mm.
He would have fought, gotten at least to the 1, would have made sure it was anything but that safety.
He almost got out. He reached for it, but he just wasn't long enough, something. But you got to fight. I mean,
he didn't have the power.
When Oklahoma's defense played well this game, and when they were limiting us to, I think it was only 10 at this point, or it was 10 because they went up to 12 after the safety. When you're holding us to only 12 points, you can't just give us more points and the possession back with that safety. So
yeah,
that's danger right there. You got to do everything you can to get out of the end zone. They just couldn't.
So when Oklahoma punts us the ball back, we do nothing with it. We punt it right back to them. But I believe they punted it right back to us again. It was basically it was kind of a punt fest the whole game.
Yeah, it was a punt fest.
With a few big plays here and there, and a few field goals too.
Our offense wasn't perfect, but we had enough explosives, which is 20 yards or more throughout the game to keep us in. And that's what our offense does. We run the ball, we get those explosive plays. But we couldn't really run the ball at all this game until that one drive, I believe, at the end of the second half. Dylan Sampson was getting bottled up all game, and he finally had that drive that showed a little bit of life. We ran the ball with him 8 straight times in the same drive for 42 yards, and he finally capped it off with that 1-yard touchdown. But I was really happy that the team and the coaching staff didn't lose trust in him to pull him or anything, because 8 straight rushes is tough.
No, I think they knew the whole time that he was just trying his absolute best, and they were getting swallowed up by the Oklahoma D-line.
And finally, after that drive, or during that drive, he was able to work out of that hole. We didn't really see a lot more from him the rest of the game, but that was pretty much the most complete drive I felt like we had all game.
Yeah. And so to respond, I think Oklahoma had a minute or less, and you don't see Arnold come back out with the offense. You see Hawkins Jr.,
the true freshman. I actually liked this move at the time for Oklahoma. I felt like, at this point, Arnold had, 3 turnovers?
Right.
And I feel like they needed to sit him down at the end of the half, let him kind of self-reflect on his mistakes from the sideline, and just see if they can get any juice with Hawkins. They really didn't, but
not at first.
Not at first, no.
So it's halftime. Tennessee comes back out, and it looked like another good drive, but this time Sampson gets balled up in the back, 4-yard loss, and right after that we get a holding penalty to set up 2nd and 24. And this is where we see Heupel calling more conservative plays.
Yeah, I didn't love the conservative nature of our offense this game. I came to realize after the game had ended that it was a little bit more, I guess, acceptable because of the field conditions. And, when you have a 2nd and 24, you're kind of hosed. You just can't really. You just say, Nico, just throw the ball to Thornton again for 75 yards. That's just not realistic, especially with really how good this Oklahoma defense and Venables was calling plays. But yeah, when the penalties were unacceptable, and when you get down to 2nd and 24, there's just not a lot of hope left for that drive.
And so on 2nd and 24, they just hand the ball off.
During the game, you were, verbally disgruntled with some of the runs on these longer to-go plays.
Yeah.
And some of the screens too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those screens were driving me crazy. 3rd and 7, let's get a screen, get 3 yards, and punt the ball. So we run it. Now it's 3rd and long, and Nico tries his best and doesn't make anything happen. But that's just an example of the penalties holding us back.
Yeah.
We were already near 5 penalties by halftime, and we come back out in our first drive, another penalty.
You're not going to love the offensive production as a Tennessee fan this game. I give us some slack because the Oklahoma defense, the field conditions, a lot of things. First SEC game is kind of, hit to the face a little bit.
Yeah.
But the penalties are absolutely unacceptable. That's one of the things I'm most excited for going into the bye week, that Heupel is a disciplined coach and whatnot, and I think he can clean some of those up.
Yeah, I agree. So later on in the third quarter, we see back-to-back punts, and Tennessee musters up a field goal. And that's when we start to see Deshaun Bishop, and he came out, he kind of took over for Sampson after the, 8 straight carries.
Yeah.
After that first, so
you're good.
8 straight carries from Sampson to end the half. He comes back out, leads the first drive, but then nothing, and then we start to see Bishop after that.
I don't hate this. Maybe since Sampson was starting to get a little bit of momentum there, maybe you want to see him back out there. But we're known for rotating in a lot of guys at running back and D-line. So I didn't hate that. But did that drive in a field goal? Or was that a punt?
Yeah.
That was
Bishop
the drive.
And Brew.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
So Brew ended up getting a 40-something yard catch and really showed off his playmaking ability. I mean, he's just bigger than those guys.
Brew is, we are so lucky to have Brew. We don't even realize it. He's not going to end every game with 100 yards and a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, but he is just like our safety net. We can always rely on him for yards after the catch, downfield plays, contested catches. I mean, you say he's a big guy. He's a strong dude. So he's kind of our Swiss Army knife in that regard.
Right. And someone we haven't been talking about all too often is James Pierce.
Yep.
And he did show some signs of life in this game with a half sack and a pressure that led to a sack. And these were both in the second half. And I'm sure, I was not, seeing him. I was not hyper-focused on him on every play. But I'm sure his run defense was pretty good as well.
Up until this point, the Sooners were only averaging 2.2 yards per play, which is exceptional for our defense. But, and at this point, he got that half a sack, and I think he got another pressure that either led to a throwaway or a sack, which was good. I was really hoping that would, kind of kick him into drive.
Yeah.
But I was noticing I haven't really been too excited about James Pierce this year so far, but specifically this game, there were a few plays where he was just jogging,
Yeah, I noticed that too.
If you're kind of projected as the number 1 overall pick, you're not going to get paid those big bucks if you're just jogging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the play's not dead, and the guy's running right in front of you, and he's just expecting his teammates to finish the job, which, is probably going to end up happening. They probably will finish the job for you, but you just want to see more effort out of him.
As a D lineman, he is one of the fastest players on the field, and if he's not going to use that ability, I mean, I don't know. It was disappointing. I have faith in him that he can, have a game where he has 3 sacks and he kind of wins the game for us or something in the future. But we just haven't seen a lot of James Pierce up to this moment. Right.
And so during all this, Hawkins is still out on the field, and
Yep.
he's gotten the juice back into this Oklahoma offense. They rallied behind him. Now, this didn't mean each drive was successful. In fact, most of them weren't. But he did get them their first touchdown of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
near the end.
If I'm an Oklahoma fan, I am disappointed, especially in Jackson Arnold and just in the offense as a whole. But I really think that this Hawkins performance down the stretch gives you a little glimpse of hope going into the rest of the season. Because he led him to 2 scores against what I think is a top-tier Tennessee defense. So, he can run the ball. His passing ability looked pretty good. I think he kind of had to shake off maybe some of the rust. If I was him, I wouldn't have expected to play unless Arnold went down with an injury, which he didn't. So maybe that was just too much of a shock for him. But, yeah, in this fourth quarter, he started to kick it into gear a little bit.
And I know we all saw his run, his attempt to get into the end zone. He believed he could fly,
Hey, no, that was sick. That was sick.
That was awesome to watch.
If I'm Venables or an Oklahoma fan, that's the exact type of thing that, when Arnold done that, that's the exact type of thing that gives me hope, is that he's going to do everything. He's going to risk, paralyzing himself.
Yeah, he got close
to score,
And Tennessee just slowed down. I think we were obviously trying to slow the game down, but in the second half, I just wanted to see more or less punts and less field goals and just more going for it, more getting the ball down the field. And we did occasionally, but when we did, there was some sort of penalty to hold us back. It was so frustrating.
Other than that one long, I think 30-something yard Brew catch, I don't know if we had any explosive plays in the second half.
I believe we had one. We had one that was taken back.
Oh, it's taken back.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we had, we didn't have any explosive plays, penalties, being conservative. Again, credit to the Oklahoma defense, but I didn't really like what I saw. Other than the game management aspect of it, I didn't like what I saw from our offense in the second half at all, pretty much.
I mean, we were taking the clock all the way down, and we did a pretty good job at that. You just want to see us finish drives more often.
Yeah. And just finishing the game stronger. Nico had that nice run to really seal the game and allow us to knee it. But I never was in doubt that we were going to win. But I didn't really feel like – that was just because of our defense. I didn't really feel like that the offense really gave us a reason to believe that we were going to really punch this game out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and 3 points in the entire second half is just unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's unacceptable against any opponent, against a team that is Oklahoma's a good team. Against a team that's as good as Oklahoma, really shows how well our defense played. And, that might be acceptable against Kent State, but the remaining teams on our schedule, that's not going to fly at all.
Yeah. And so, to recap this game, so Arnold, he might be done in Oklahoma. Maybe we're jumping the gun here, but maybe we're not. I mean,
it was a tough scene last night for him. You, as we were saying earlier, you could see it on his face. There was one time when Hawkins, had a good play. They called a timeout or something. He gave him a little dap or whatever, but you could see it on his face that he just didn't like what was happening. And he did it to himself because those 3 turnovers. But if I'm Jackson Arnold and I'm the number 3 quarterback recruit from 2 years ago, I'm not staying if I'm not going to start. I've heard that the Oklahoma camp really likes Hawkins, and if I'm Venables, there's no reason that I don't start Hawkins next week and weeks going forward if he plays like he did in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and what I will say is, if after those 2 Nico fumbles, what if they don't fumble it right back? This game could have looked a whole lot different. Mm-hmm. We got bailed out by Jackson Arnold.
We did.
So let's say they actually capitalized with at least 2 field goals. They're in the game at the end.
They're in the game.
When Hawkins is in there, 2 minutes to go.
Those Hawkins touchdowns don't feel like garbage time touchdowns anymore. They feel like meaningful minutes.
Yeah, and that is exactly why Jackson Arnold is my game MVP. He gave us the ball 3 different times, and no, we didn't always capitalize, but it took the momentum right out of the audience and just the team in general, at least until Hawkins came in.
Yep. Talking about their offense and our defense, I think that Tennessee should be absolutely overjoyed with how our offense played. Arnold didn't play well at all, and Oklahoma's playmakers are also, a big question for me if I was an Oklahoma fan. But, both defenses, I think, really did everything they could to win that game, and one offense played well enough to actually win the game. But talking about defense, my MVP is Jermon McCoy. I haven't really felt like that Tennessee has had a solid number 1 lockdown corner in a while. The closest we've had, I guess, is Alontae Taylor, the speed demon who got that pick six against Kentucky in 2021. But he's a beast, man. Like we needed him so bad to bolster that secondary. He had in 48 coverage snaps, 0 catches on 4 targets, a pick that we saw, a separate pass breakup, and a whopping 0 QBR when plays went his direction.
Yeah,
So,
and I will say Arnold kind of made our defense look a little bit better his first few drives.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, he had guys open, whether they were tight windows or not. He was just missing.
He was missing, yep.
So hopefully McCoy's stats aren't coming from that, and they're coming from him just being a good player. But I will say our secondary was a little bit bailed out by Arnold in the beginning.
And we really made a big point in the previous episode about his running ability. That wasn't really there. Like in the half that he did play, he scrambled a few times, but our defensive line was just impeccable. And forcing him to do the exact things that we wanted him to do, which was throw the ball and a pick. Or not throwing the ball and fumbling. Like we didn't really see that coming, but
yeah, when he tried to run, he was just fumbling it.
Yep.
And so, not to mention, the field was just terrible. Oklahoma, what are we doing? Okay.
Yeah, it's embarrassing that their first SEC game was on a field like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we saw Squirrel White slip just trying to catch the ball on a punt return, and we saw the man break his leg. I don't want to say that's completely on the field's fault, but he was being sat on by a lineman, but maybe you could avoid that. There were a few injuries out there last night.
That play was like horrendous.
That was
actually
awful
because I think it was John Campbell, our left tackle. He I guess rolled up or stepped on that guy's leg.
They were just both falling, and they were twisting.
But he took the brunt of it. Yeah, because Campbell went down too. When we were watching the game, we were like, "Oh, one of our players is hurt," and then it zoomed out, and there was a huddle around an Oklahoma player.
Right.
And the replay happened, and we saw a man's leg snap in half. Like his foot was facing the wrong direction. Yeah, and he was a senior too. That I really felt bad.
Yeah,
for that guy.
That's when it becomes more than just a football game. The way that they were huddling around him, you love to see that. I hate the whole situation.
Yeah.
But he had his boys around him, and that's pretty cool to see.
The whole team went to that cart.
Yeah.
And
I was kind of just cracking up at the fact that they had a man with his whole foot twisted the wrong way, and they just kind of sat there.
Yeah, there was no urgency.
There was no urgency. I'm hoping that they just stuck something in his leg and made all the pain go away, but can we get off the field?
They were showing him crying. It was.
Yeah, I know. Let's get this man to a hospital.
Yeah.
But so anyway, yeah, field terrible. Oklahoma, step it up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Penalties. We've been talking about it this whole Volcast. Terrible as well. I'm very disappointed in this. I feel like Heupel he's a team guy. He's a player's coach.
Right.
He lets them cuss around him. He's letting them
it's a friendly
be themselves,
yeah.
And which is good. I think that it makes him very liked by them, but I think sometimes we're lacking a little bit of discipline. They're a little too chill sometimes.
You might can blame this on the fact it was an away game. You can't hear the snap count or whatever. One of the penalties was really bad, as in should not have been called roughing the passer. That was so weak.
Yeah, that's true.
A few illegal touching, face mask, hands to the face, just some physical things maybe instead of mental that we need to clean up. But again, going into the bye, we had 9 penalties for 78 yards, which is a pretty big chunk. But going into the bye week, I'm hoping, and I think Heupel will emphasize that in the off week.
We need to at least cut that number in half, at the very least.
Right.
And hey, we've been talking about Samson all season, okay? And no, he didn't have his best game last night, but he got a touchdown.
He did.
And he's still averaging 2.5 touchdowns a game, and he's still on pace for 30.
As the weeks go by, it seems less crazy, every week. But yeah, Dylan Sampson's performance, he went up against a really, really good front seven. And Dylan Sampson's performance wasn't exactly, I didn't love it. But he made, I think, the most out of what he could. I believe 23 carries for about 94 yards and a touchdown. The yards per carry were not good at all, but he produced. So that's all you can ask for, and a win as well.
Yeah, and then when Bishop came in, he did his job as well.
Right.
So the running backs were okay.
Mm-hmm. So after this first SEC matchup, I want to come back to a segment that we've gone to before, which is the SEC Spotlight. At this point, every team has played one SEC game, at least one SEC game. And, I want to revisit how we stack up against some of these SEC teams in some statistical categories.
Let's do it.
So, Tennessee is second in total touchdowns, which is, I believe, where we were 2 weeks ago. Our offense is always going to be there. Scoring is always going to be there.
Yeah.
As well as second in total points, second in total yards, and first in rushing yards by a 200-yard difference of second place.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. We were, those stats were inflated, I think, in the first 3 games. Not as much box score, stuff in the most recent game, but I really expect these offensive stats to be consistent throughout the year for the most part.
Yeah, and so looking at the team stats overall, we have 1,229 yards on offense and only 704 yards allowed on defense. I mean, we're looking good. The offense did not look as polished as it did these past few weeks, but the defense is just right on par with what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the narrative in the media, the national media, is about to start shifting towards our defense.
100%.
It already has been.
100%.
But everyone's looking at Nico and thinking he's going to be some passing god, and I believe he will be. But
I'm pretty sure he's 7th right now in the passing stats, but you can look at these early season stats and kind of disregard them a little bit because of the competition that teams have played.
Right.
But at this point in the season, we're getting into more competitive games. These stats are going to be a lot more real going, at this point in the season.
They're going to really start to shape out to be
reflective on what these teams actually do and
exactly
what they actually are.
Here's a fun one. So Tennessee is leading the SEC in safeties with 2.
How often do you see 2 safeties in 4 games?
I'll take it. I love that kind of stat. And then Sampson is second in rushing yards behind Arkansas's running back, Jackson.
If I could place a bet on the SEC rushing yards and touchdowns leader, I would still place it on Sampson.
Yeah.
We have 2 really difficult games left with Alabama and Georgia, but every other game, and we have Vandy, Mississippi State, Arkansas, who we ranked, not in that order, but we ranked, bottom 5 in the SEC. I expect him to eat in those games.
Yep. And just as a team in general, like we said earlier, we're past everybody team-wise in rushing stats, okay? 200 yards. The whole team is going to get some yards, and you love to see that.
Something that I was interested in when scouring these stats is we have almost little to no representation in the receiving yards and touchdowns category and in a lot of the defensive categories. I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's good because we're cycling a lot of guys in there, and Nico can get the ball to any receiver he wants. He's not focusing on one guy. Or, the defense, we're not having one guy just take us home. We can rely on all these guys to play well. However, Joshua Josephs is first in fumbles forced and recovered, which I'm sure this past game really helped that total.
But yeah, so we had 7 tackles for loss, I think, in the first half, or maybe it was just the first quarter. 7 different players got a tackle for loss. We are a complete defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, there's not one person that's going to take over the game for us. It's everybody.
We can trust our entire D-line to make plays for us.
Yep. And we were talking about that earlier in the season as well. So.
Yep. So this past week in Norman for the Oklahoma-Tennessee game, College GameDay was actually there, and they've been a staple tradition in college football forever. I mean, for a long time. And the best part about College GameDay is definitely the signs.
Oh yeah.
Students show up, the fans show up, and they flash these horrific signs to the camera. I
mean, they had been there since 4 a.m. or
exactly.
something.
Just camped out.
No sleep.
Hey, the signs have got to be worth it if you're putting that much effort into it. But, I want to see how worth it are they.
Right.
I've compiled the 9 best and some of the worst signs from College GameDay this past week. And I want you to rank them based upon, how funny they are, how much of a roast they are, anything like that.
All right, let's rank them.
So the first sign is good old Peyton. I always love a good Peyton forehead joke because that sign really isn't too far off of what the actual forehead looks like.
Oh my God. It's funny
yeah.
because the OU logo is long like that.
fits like a glove right there.
So I'm blind reacting to all these. Jace did the dirty work of going through each sign
it
that
was dirty, trust
he
me.
could find. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is S. I really like this one.
This is there were two, but this is my favorite one probably.
This is a good one.
This isn't even like a roast toward Tennessee, really. It's just like he has a big forehead. Peyton's kind of like the representative of Tennessee, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So he's easy pickings for sure.
All right.
So number 2.
Let me see those volunteers.
Yeah. By the way, all of these signs except for one are Oklahoma fans directed toward Tennessee, I guess.
Okay.
We had one Tennessee sign in there, but yeah.
This one's clever, I guess. But the sign itself is kind of boring looking.
Yeah.
What's up with the S, like the SEE going up like that?
Yeah, it's like that.
Did you make this 20 minutes ago
looks like
on the
Peyton's
ground?
forehead. The
Yeah,
top of the
exactly.
E is so long. I do like the blue, I guess, the blue like tears falling off, but that's as much creativity points as I'll give it. This one's not my favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna send this one to D tier.
Okay, that's fair.
Is that where you'd put it too?
Yeah, probably. All right, number 3. Oh yeah, this one. Your coach believes in Sooner magic. I have 2 interesting things about this sign. First of all, that guy like next to the girl with her mouth wide open, that looks exactly like you, bruh. Like I thought you had like teleported. You see that guy?
Oh.
That is literally you. The haircut and everything. But
oh, I see it, but only because it's blurry.
Yeah, true.
If I was like standing right there and I was shaking my head or something when they took the picture, then yeah.
All these signs
see
are
that.
blurry. They did not do a good job of taking these pictures. But the other thing, the gripe I had with this sign, the only reason why our coach believes in Sooner Magic is because he was the Sooner Magic.
Yeah,
he was
exactly
all that they had for that national championship. So, yeah.
Sooner Magic. Yeah, this one's stupid, dude. And they underline the OU and your.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, true.
I will say that this sign aesthetically is looking a lot better than the Volunteer sign, but I think it's just as stupid. All right. It can be discredited too.
Even if there was Sooner Magic, because I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, no such
isn't
thing.
That like a compliment to hype? I mean, I don't know.
So I'll put this one in C. It's not as bad as Volunteers, but
okay. Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
logic ain't there.
I agree. So number 4, my mom has as many Heisman trophies as Tennessee, and I love you, Mom, in parentheses. I did this one because, Tennessee not having any Heisman trophies, that's like easy pickings, along with Peyton, which those go hand in hand for separate reasons, but also shout out to all the moms in there. I like that he put the I love you, Mom down there.
It's genuine, but man, that is a sign.
Yeah.
Underlining every line.
He tried his best to get that one on the cameras
true.
at Game Day.
It definitely worked though. Let's put this one into. I want to put it in C tier, but I think the I love you, Mom, it gives them that extra little boost.
So this next one, call me when OU plays the real UT.
Ooh.
I have a few problems with this sign, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
The first one is we are the real UT. I mean,
obviously.
What are we doing here? But the second one is like, I feel like Oklahoma and like their fans make their whole brand around being Texas's rival, but specifically being like their bitch. You know what I mean? Like they don't beat Texas very often. Like they're not going to beat them this year for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, they try to diss Texas at the same time as they're dissing us, but like you're calling UT the real UT? Like
I don't.
Why?
Yeah, I don't want to bolster Texas up, but the score is going to be way worse when Oklahoma plays Texas than Tennessee. Also like Oklahoma fans' hand sign is like this. Like
yeah, they don't even have their own hand sign.
They're just trying to copy Texas or just make like I'm all for this, but not when that's your only thing, Yeah,
this is going straight to F tier. First of all, you're wrong, or E tier, I mean.
All right, number 6. So this is the Tennessee fan sign. New conference, still scared of orange. I like this one. It looks more professional. They didn't draw on it. They hit the 3 rivals, Texas, Oklahoma State, and now Tennessee. I don't know if we're going to start a rivalry with Oklahoma now that we're in the same conference. But, you could go many, many years where Oklahoma loses to all 3 of these teams because they're going to play them pretty much every year.
Yeah, definitely this year.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this one's clever, all right? This is, and they didn't put the horns down. We show a little bit of respect.
True.
We'll give the UT fan some love. He was probably out there getting bullied the whole time.
Definitely, yeah.
But I know he was, staying strong for us.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. He printed this out. That's fine. I love to see a handwritten sign. But we'll give it B tier.
All right, fair enough. So number 7, Rocky Top, more like Rocky Flop, Boomer Sooner. I've tried to start making some puns for the podcast, and they're bad. But what are we doing?
None as bad as this one.
This is the worst sign I've ever seen. If I'm going to be honest, they didn't even care about. Look how bad.
It's so wrinkly.
Yeah, they were like, this sign
hardly
sucks.
read
They
it.
tried to wrinkle it. They're like, maybe.
Yeah, they wanted to throw it away. They're like, let's try a new one.
I mean, I'm on camera. Hey, I'll do it open. But
Yeah.
the OU, what did a 2-year-old draw that? What is going on in that bottom left? Yeah,
and it looks. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a boomer drew this.
Exactly.
Boomer wrote this.
Yeah.
Especially with the pun too. Her 80-year-old grandpa was like, "Honey, I want you to bring this on game day."
Yeah.
She said, "Okay, Grandpa.
Fine, I guess.
Let me just stick it up my
No,
get it nice and wrinkled."
no, disagree.
Okay, so we'll give the 80-year-old grandpa sign a good old D tier.
Yeah,
This one sucks.
This is my least favorite. This would have gone straight into E for me.
Ugly, and the pun's not even that good.
Mm-hmm. So this next one was one of my favorites because of the irony that it had.
Oh, that is funny.
The only 10 I see is Jackson Arnold, even though he's number 11 out of 10 now. He changed his number. Ha. I mean, if he had a good game, sure, but dude got benched.
Yeah, the only 10 you see is sitting on the bench with a true freshman playing in front of him, dude. Hey, the sign looks good, though.
Yeah.
I'll give him bonus points for that.
Okay.
I love a good-looking sign. And, they admitted he's number 11 now, but...
I would rank this sign highly just because of the irony, just because he got benched.
Yeah, true.
As a Tennessee fan, that's what makes it funny. So.
All right, this sign's going in A, but for... A for Arnold.
A for ass.
Yeah.
That's what Jackson Arnold is. And finally, in Norman, they're eating the dogs. I believe this was also a Tennessee fan sign now that I think about it. It's relevant. I hope it's not true. That would be horrible. But
Smokey would never let that happen.
No.
Smoking, he's going to eat them if they even get close enough.
Come on, I mean, look at him. It's
I know.
Smokey. He's sweet. Don't eat him. Come on now.
Davy Crockett would never let that happen anyway.
Mm-mm.
The sign looks pretty shitty, though. It's a pretty... I don't know. You're going to capitalize in, but not there. I don't know. Maybe it's a full sentence. You don't have
in Norman. Yeah, that's not even...
I don't know. It's a little discombobulated. But Smokey's going to get some love from me, okay? And this is going to go in the B tier.
All right. So, I think, the Peyton one definitely, that's the best one.
Yeah, the Peyton one's so good. Oh, man. How'd you even find these? You just
looked it up. They always do a little sign, spotlight, I guess.
Yeah.
After every game day. But I was really hoping that we could get game day for Alabama. But that's the same day. That's the same day as Texas, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so unless one of them just falls from grace, I don't know. But yeah, we had 2 game days, 2022, Florida and Alabama. I think we had some pretty good signs that year. But yeah.
Hey, thank you, Jace, for picking those out. I know your eyes are probably bleeding by now looking at all these, but
a lot of disappointment, a little bit of humor, but yeah, Oklahoma fans need to step it up.
Yeah. So this upcoming week is going to be a bye week for the Vols, the first of the season. And then after that, we're going to be playing Arkansas. But I think our biggest thing that we want to see focused on in this bye week is the penalties and maybe some more explosiveness from our offense and just a little bit better play calling.
Yep.
some scripting maybe even.
Yep.
We really want to see our Vols come out and explode.
Every bye week is a chance to, one, rest. I mean, we've had, 4 games up until this point. We've got a lot of bodies in, but we need to take a week to rest. SEC Gauntlet kind of starts from here on out. But it also gives us a chance to, as you said, kind of reflect and kind of realize our own mistakes. I would like to see a little bit more creativity maybe. Our offense is, everyone knows what we want to do. We want to spread the field and push the ball down the field or open up the middle to run.
Yeah.
But I just want to see a little bit more creativity from Heupel. Throw a few different more looks in there.
Yeah, how about less screens?
Less screens.
That'd be nice.
I'm all for running the ball with the running backs that we have, but how much value is running the ball in 2nd and 24 going to get us,
Yeah. And, hey, this will be a good bye week for you and me as well.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Our PCS points, they aren't too bad. Our PCS points are looking a little rough.
Yeah.
I think we're averaging around 180 per game.
God. We last year around this time, I think we were in the 400 to 500 range at total points.
Yeah.
And this year we are in the 600s.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not
667 with 609 in just 4 games. That's over 100 points.
But hey, I mean, one thing I already know is maybe lean lower scoring this year. I mean, our defense is really good this year. Maybe we're not going to be quite as explosive in the offensive areas that we were used to with Hooker. Maybe give Nico a year for that. But yeah, definitely lean lower scoring, and especially against Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. I can see some low-scoring games on those.
I see us pounding the rock more often than I expected.
Right.
And the defense just looking way better than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also predict throughout the season. You can predict every single game at thepcsonline.com.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there, all you do is type in 2 numbers, the final score of the game.
Yep.
And the PCS, after the game, will give you a score to tell you just how accurate you were. And if you want to get your friends to do this as well, you can compare your scores at the end of each game and see who's doing better, just like Jace and I are now. And we're 4 weeks in. And Jace is beating me, but the season's still young.
Oh, yeah. A lot of games left.
So please stay tuned. We're going to have another Volcast episode coming out. We're going to do a little bit more fun segments like we did with the Game Day signs. And we're going to be looking into the Arkansas game as well, previewing and predicting.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned, subscribe, like this video, and thank you for watching.
Go Vols!
Go Vols!